Hey everybody, this is PJ Riley from Lancaster Archery out here on our outdoor shooting range. Got kind of a fun video today. A couple weeks ago we were making a video about determining which way to fletch an arrow. Whether you're going to fletch left offset, right offset. And we all know, you can test on your bow with a bare shaft and see which way it naturally wants to spin. A lot of archers, that's the way they then fletch. But we're always curious about what happens if you shoot, let's say your bow wants to shoot counterclockwise and you shoot an arrow that is fletched to spin clockwise. What happens? Well, in the video that we shot, we're using our regular camera just in slow motion, and it sure looked like that arrow hesitated. That the fletching started coming off to spin the way the string wanted it to go, and then came back and went according to the fletching. So we decided, hey, we need a high-speed camera to tell for sure. So we got a high-speed camera and we did a little testing today. So what we got here are two Easton Axis 5mm arrows. We're shooting an Elite Ritual. The bow that we're shooting naturally wants to spin counterclockwise. So we've got one arrow fletched here. We got the TAC driver 2.75. It's at about a 3-degree left offset. So this one spins the way the bow naturally wants it to spin. Then we got our other 5mm, and this one's a factory fletch. It is a right offset, and it's pretty harsh. We got 2-inch blazers on there. I'm gonna say this is 4 or even 5 degrees possibly. It's got a harsh offset and helical. So what do we see? Looking through the high speed. And you can comment below. If you agree, disagree, tell us what you think. It matters, but it sure looks to me like the one that's fletched to spin naturally the way the string wants it to, it just looks like this one starts spinning immediately. It's going the direction, counterclockwise spin. As soon as the string is released, this arrow starts spinning. This one that goes against the natural spin, it sure looked to me like there is a long hesitation. It's out of the bow before it starts spinning according to the fletching. What does that mean? I don't know. Does that make a difference? You tell me. Leave a question or leave us comments in the comment section below. Tell us if you're seeing what we're seeing. Tell us if you think it makes a difference. Some people say it doesn't, some people say it does. But you can see the difference. There's definitely something different happening. And the rate of spin as well. With these blazers, again, it's got that harsh helical. Once it does catch up, man, this thing is spinning like crazy as compared to the gentler offset of the TAC driver. All right, something else that we see, these are two different styles of vane in terms of flexibility. The TAC's designed by Levi Morgan, he wanted something that was vertically stiff, which the TACs are, as compared to the blazer, it's got a little more flexibility to it. So it sure looked like in the high-speed video that the TAC came out and maintained that vertical straightness. As compared to the blazer, it looks like it folds over a little bit.
That's pretty cool.
I think it's really interesting that you see right away that before the arrow even leaves the bow, like that arrow is not spinning for at least a few feet, so it's really not recovered yet.
It's definitely out of the bow, and it comes to a certain point where it wants to go the natural way, and then it corrects itself and goes back the way that the vanes are making it spin, essentially.
Why fight it is what I say. Levi Morgan's the first guy to ever bring that up to me. He's the first guy I ever heard talk about that. He basically referred to it like throwing a knuckleball, right?
Think about the way a knuckleball looks coming at you. When it moves this way, it's actually moving. It's not an illusion, it's actually moving.
I'm not 100% sure on whether I would be correct or not, but at that point in time where that arrow actually stops spinning, that I think that you would personally lose accuracy right there.
Never really thought about clocking an arrow, marking it, but after watching videos and seeing people talk about it, when it social media, you learn more.
I have tested a lot of different bows, okay, and it seems to me like the slower the bow, the faster it turns. I've seen bows that turn them half a turn in 3 feet, 3-4 feet. I've seen bows that hardly turn them at all. Now I'm sure the ones that turn them really hard, if you're fighting it the other way, are going to create kind of that knuckleball effect.
Every single elite bow I have, and it's got to be the twist of the string. You know, the direction the twist is, they clock left. You know, if you mark the top of that arrow and you shoot a bare shaft, it always wants to turn to the left, so I started shooting left helical all the time.
What I think is that your bare shaft is going to naturally come off one way or the other. Totally understand that concept. However, I don't feel like it comes off with force. It comes off just naturally that way. I would be willing to bet that if you did ours right and left on the same bow in high speed like this, you probably aren't going to see a difference. I think our vanes are going to start and crank it whichever way they're fletched.
Most of the time for a right-handed shooter with most strings, your arrow's naturally going to want to spin left. For a target arrow, I always fletch the way it wants to go, just because you want it spinning out of the bow. On my hunting arrows, I tend not to, and it depends on what broadhead you're shooting to, but I always run screw-in tips for hunting, and they're constantly unscrewing on me if I have a left helical. They're always wanting to back out. My broadheads are wanting to come undone.
Does it make a difference? I just switched to left-handed 2.5 months ago, and to get my vanes to clear on a left-handed bow, I get better clearance with right helical. So I'm shooting still an elite bow, same twist, same strings. I'm shooting right helical now on my arrows. I'm shooting pretty good okay right now with them, I'd say. You know, so does it make a difference? From the video, yeah, it looks like it makes a big difference. My opinion on that, with just a real quick thought, with field points on a target setup, probably doesn't make a nickel's worth of difference.
I honestly 100% think it matters, yeah, because like I just said, and I don't know if it actually plays an accuracy factor or not, but my opinion would be that arrow stopping in mid-flight and then correcting itself, that's just something else that has to correct that you can eliminate altogether. Where say you make a bad shot, personally I would think that would be magnified because that arrow is unstable to begin with.
Like with an arrow that spins to the left naturally, I've tested with a left fletch and a right fletch. It's close enough that I can't barely even make out a difference. For a glued in point, it makes absolutely no sense to fletch it opposite of the way that it wants to go. But with the screw in point, I always want it tightening because I'm not having to constantly tighten my tips and my broadhead wants to tighten. But if you're shooting a broadhead that's got like offset blades or something, then you have to match that and do what the broadhead has to do. Otherwise it's gonna knuckleball and cause you all kinds of issues. But some setups are gonna be more critical to it than others are, but for the most part, not enough to matter really.
Good, but that fletching's on there for a reason. It's to guide that arrow. All it does is steer the point. So if it's correcting that quick, you know, you could see it. You know, the right helical would pause and then it would take over. The left helical started right away. So does it make a difference in your accuracy? I think it could. Is it detrimental? Will it make you lose a tournament? I'd have to do a lot of testing to see. So, but pretty cool to see that. But I don't know. Yeah, the jury's out for me on that. But I do like that. It's good info.
Which is quieter, stiffer, softer?
Stiffer for sure. Softer, higher creates more drag, creates more control, also creates more noise. One of the big detractors to fixed blades is more noise, you know, because you have to have more vane to steer it. So
Softness to me is more for fletching capabilities than anything. I just think a softer vane, I can put some acetone on it, I can get it to adhere better with different glues. Stiffer vanes seem to have different materials. I have a tougher time fletching stiffer vanes, but I prefer a softer vane to shoot as well. I don't really, you know, have a lot of data to back up why. I just prefer that. Stiff vanes probably cut good. They may be great for broadheads, but just overall for target, even shooting into a target, a softer vane. I shoot flex, for example. They have a great memory. If I shoot one into a group and I bend them up, in just a few minutes they come back to life. They're perfect. Although I love fletching arrows, I like to keep my stuff perfect, and I just think a softer vane increases my longevity in my arrows.
I think having a vane that acts more like a feather on a large diameter arrow like a 27-12, like what I would run indoors, I think that's better. For me anyways, with my particular setups. Everybody obviously is going to be different, and I mean we've discussed that a lot. Every setup for everybody is going to be different no matter what. I mean, what I do and what somebody else does could be completely different and work for them but not work for me. And yeah, I think with my indoor stuff, having a vane that is much softer and does act more like a feather on a large diameter arrow, I think that's more accurate in my opinion.
I run one that's kind of in between. I'm shooting the Q2Is. They're stiffer than a Blazer, but not quite as stiff as a TAC. It seems like that's a pretty good combo because when you hit your arrows and stuff, they don't want to rip and tear or fold over real easy. They hold up really well. but they also stick super well and they don't want to pop off. You get a real stiff vein, they get hard to stick, and if you hit something, it's really easy to like crack them or to break them off. And too soft of a vein, they're always going to fold over and be wrinkled and warped, and it's an issue. But it seems like a stiff vein does tend to steer an arrow really well. If you get fletching contact on your rest, though, you're going to have major issues with a stiffer vein, more than you would with a softer vein.
So, tell us what you see. Let's get this comment section going.